stared at the screen in his office and felt his stomach turn cold. The message was clear and simple. 6 ships were coming. Marauders. 3 days until they arrived. He had been the administrator of Dust Haven Colony for 12 years. In all that time, he had dealt with equipment failures, supply shortages, and labor disputes. He had never dealt with pirates. No one had ever bothered them before. They were too far out, too small, too poor to be worth the trip. But they did not care about profit margins. They cared about easy targets. Touched his communicator. His voice shook as he spoke. "This is Administrator of Dust Haven Colony. We have received credible intelligence of an incoming hostile fleet. Marauders, 6 warships. Arrival in 72 hours. We are a civilian mining colony with minimal defensive capabilities. We have 40,000 residents including families and children, requesting immediate military assistance from any available forces. Please respond." He sent the message to every frequency he could reach. Council military channels, Empire defense networks, private security contractors, independent mercenary groups, anyone who might listen. Then he waited. The first response came within an hour. It was from the Galactic Council Defense Coordination Office. Read it twice, hoping he had misunderstood. Request received. Nearest Council Rapid Response Fleet is currently 14 days away at maximum speed, unable to provide timely assistance. Recommend immediate evacuation of non-essential personnel. Good luck. 14 days. The pirates would be here in 3. More responses trickled in over the next few hours. Each one felt like a door slamming shut. The Empire, whose territory bordered this sector, sent a brief message. Economic analysis indicates defensive deployment to Dust Haven is not cost-effective. Suggest negotiation with hostile forces. Compensation for losses may be available through standard insurance claims process. Read that message to his deputy, a younger named Senna. She looked at him with wide eyes. "They will not come." "They will not come," confirmed. His voice sounded hollow. A mercenary company responded next. Their price for intervention was more than the colony's entire annual budget. They needed payment up front, did not have it. An independent security firm replied that they were currently under contract elsewhere and could not break their terms. A nearby mining consortium expressed sympathy, but explained they had no military assets. Every response was the same. "Sorry, too far, too expensive, too risky, good luck." Sat in his office as the sun set over the dusty landscape outside his window. Dust Haven was not a beautiful place. The sky was always with mineral particles. The buildings were prefabricated and practical. The work was hard and the pay was modest, but it was home. 40,000 people lived here. They had built lives in this harsh place. They had children who played in the recreation domes. They had gardens in the agricultural sections. They had hopes and dreams. And no one was coming to help them. Senna brought him another message. This one was different. The sender identification showed an Earth frequency. Frowned, Earth. The humans were barely recognized as a spacefaring species. They had a few colonies, a small merchant fleet, and no real military presence in this part of the galaxy. Their home system was months away even at the fastest hyperspace speeds. Why would they respond? He opened the message. It was short, just 4 words. Message received, hold on. Stared at it for a long moment. Then he closed the message and deleted it. It was meaningless. Earth could not help. They were too far away and too weak. The humans were kind to respond, but kindness would not stop the... He called a colony-wide meeting instead. The central auditorium was packed. Families crowded together on the benches. Parents held their children. Everyone looked at with fear and hope mixed together on their faces. Told them the truth. He did not soften it, they were coming. No one was sending help. They had 3 days to prepare. The room erupted in panic. Voices rose in anger and terror. Some demanded to know why the council would abandon them. Others asked what defenses they had. Many simply cried. Raised his hands for silence. It took several minutes for the crowd to quiet down. "We have limited options," he said. "Our mining lasers can be modified as weapons, but they will not penetrate military-grade shields. We have 3 cargo shuttles that can be used for evacuation. Each shuttle holds 200 people. That means we can evacuate 600 individuals if we pack them tightly." Someone in the crowd did the math quickly. "There are 40,000 of us." "I know," said quietly. A woman stood up. She held a small child in her arms. "Who decides who goes on the shuttles?" Had been dreading that question. He had been thinking about it all day. Children first, under the age of 10. Then essential personnel to care for them during transport. Then we draw lots for the remaining spaces. The woman looked down at her child. The little girl could not have been more than 5 years old. She would get a seat, but the mother might not. "Where will the shuttles go?" someone else asked. "The nearest inhabited system with council protection is 4 days away at shuttle speed. They will likely be gone by the time the shuttles arrive there. We will send them with all our remaining emergency funds. It should be enough to ensure the children are cared for." "What about everyone else?" Took a breath. "We will negotiate. We will offer them everything we have. All our refined minerals, all our equipment, all our credits. Perhaps if we surrender immediately and give them everything, they will leave us alive." He did not believe it. From what he knew of they would take everything anyway and kill anyone who might later identify them. But he had to give people something to hope for. The meeting ended in chaos. Families held each other. Some people rushed to their homes to pack belongings. Others went to the transport bay to volunteer for the evacuation effort. A few went to the mining equipment bays to help modify the lasers, even though everyone knew it would make no difference. Returned to his office. Senna was still there, coordinating the evacuation lists. "Administrator," she said, "I should tell you something." "What?" "My daughter is 7. She will be on the first shuttle." Nodded. "Good, she should be safe. But I will not be there to hold her hand when she is frightened." Had no answer for that. He spent the next 2 days working without sleep. He finalized the evacuation lists. He coordinated the mining laser modifications. He prepared the surrender message he would send to the... He tried to think of any possibility they had missed, any option they had overlooked. There was nothing. On the morning of the 3rd day, stood in the transport bay as the first shuttle prepared to launch. It was full of children. Some cried for their parents. Others sat quietly in shock. Volunteers moved among them, trying to offer comfort. Senna stood at the loading ramp with her daughter. The little girl clutched a stuffed toy. Senna knelt down and hugged her tightly. She whispered something in her ear. Then she kissed her forehead and gently pushed her toward the volunteer who would care for her. As the girl walked up the ramp, she turned back once. "Mommy." "I will see you soon," Senna said. Her voice did not shake. The girl nodded and went inside. The shuttle door closed. The engines powered up. Watched it rise into the sky and disappear into the clouds. 2 more shuttles launched over the next few hours. 600 children and caregivers. Safe. At least they would be safe. That left 39,400 people waiting for the to arrive. Went to the colony's sensor station. The operator, a young technician named, looked exhausted. "Anything?" asked. Shook his head. "The system is clear, but they should arrive in the next 3 hours based on the intelligence timing." Nodded. He sat down in an empty chair and waited. 2 hours and 47 minutes later straightened suddenly. "Contact. Multiple hyperspace signatures. Outer system. 6 ships." Those said. "Confirmed. Matching known warship profiles." Looked at his communicator. He had kept it on his desk for 3 days, checking it every few minutes, hoping for a miracle, hoping someone would answer the call. The screen was blank. No one was coming. stood and walked to the central command platform. He opened the colony-wide communication channel. "This is Administrator. The fleet has arrived in our system. They will be in orbit within the hour. All remaining personnel should gather in the central shelter areas. Bring water and supplies. Stay calm. I will negotiate with them. We will survive this." He closed the channel and sat down heavily in his chair. Senna appeared beside him. "You should have taken a seat on one of the shuttles." "So should you." They sat together in silence, as the sensor readings showed 6 hostile warships moving closer and closer to their small, helpless colony. In the deep darkness of space, far beyond the range of Dust Haven's sensors, something moved. It made no sound. It left no trace. It had been waiting there for 2 days, silent and invisible, watching and listening. Now it began to move forward. The ghosts were already here. The warships dropped out of hyperspace with a flash of distorted light. 6 vessels, each one bristling with weapons and from countless battles. They moved into orbit around Dust Haven like predators circling wounded prey. On the bridge of the lead ship, Captain Vex leaned back in his command chair and grinned. His teeth were sharp and yellowed. His crew had been restless for weeks, and this would be an easy score. A mining colony with no defenses and no backup. Perfect. "Sensor sweep," he ordered. His scanner officer, a thin named, worked his console quickly. Colony population approximately 40,000. Minimal energy signatures from defensive systems. Some modified industrial lasers, nothing that can penetrate our shields. 3 cargo shuttles launched in the past 8 hours, currently out of intercept range. "Smart ones got out," Vex said. "The rest stayed because they are stupid or brave. Either way, they are ours now." He opened a communication channel to the colony. His translator turned his words into the common galactic trade language that most species understood. "Dust Haven Colony, this is Captain Vex of the fleet. You are now under our control. You have 1 hour to disable all defensive systems and prepare your cargo storage for our inspection. Anyone who resists will be executed. Anyone who cooperates may live. Those are your only choices." He closed the channel and waited for the response. On the colony's surface, listened to the message and felt the last bit of hope drain from his body. Vex's reputation was well known. He kept his promises about execution, but rarely kept his promises about mercy. Still had to try. He opened the response channel. "Captain Vex, this is Administrator. We are willing to surrender all our resources. Refined minerals, equipment, credits, everything we have. We only ask that you allow our people to live in peace." Vex's laughter came back over the channel. It was a harsh, ugly sound. "Your people will live as long as they are useful. The strong ones will be sold as labor. The skilled ones will work our ships. The rest will find their own value. We have families here, children. Then they should have lived somewhere safer." The channel cut off. Looked at Senna. She looked back at him with hollow eyes. They both knew what was coming. "Disable the laser arrays," said quietly. "There is no point in giving them an excuse for violence." Senna nodded and sent the orders. Across the colony, families huddled together in the shelter areas. Some prayed to their gods. Others held each other in silence. A few tried to hide valuables, knowing it was pointless. They would take everything anyway. In the mining equipment bay, a group of workers stood around the modified lasers. They had spent 2 days rigging industrial cutting tools to fire as weapons. One of them, an engineer named, placed his hand on the barrel of the nearest laser. "We could fight," he said. His friend, an older worker named Chris, shook his head. "We would die in the first volley. Those are warships. We are miners. At least we would die standing. And give them an excuse to kill everyone else. No, we follow orders. We surrender." Looked at the weapon for a long moment. Then he reached over and powered it down. Aboard the flagship, frowned at his sensor console. "Captain, I am getting strange readings." Vex looked up from his planning display. "What kind of readings?" "Intermittent contacts on the edge of our sensor range. They appear and disappear. Could be debris from the asteroid field or possibly sensor echoes from the planet's magnetic interference." "Possibly or probably?" "Probably debris, Captain, but the pattern is unusual." Vex considered this for a moment. They were in a remote system with no military presence. The colony had already tried every distress call it could send, and no one had answered. There was no threat here. "Mark it in the log and continue monitoring. It is nothing." Nodded and returned to his scans. The hour deadline approached slowly. Vex watched the countdown with satisfaction. His crew prepared boarding parties. They would strip the colony of everything valuable, process the population, and be gone before any council ships could respond to delayed distress signals. It was routine work, easy profit. On the colony prepared to send the formal surrender message. His hands shook as he typed. He had failed everyone. As administrator, it had been his job to keep them safe. He had sent the distress calls. He had begged for help, and no one had come. He thought about that strange message from Earth. Hold on. Such simple words. Such a meaningless promise from a species with no power in this region. He deleted the thought and focused on the surrender terms. 5 minutes before the deadline, opened the communication channel. "Captain Vex, this is Administrator. We are prepared to surrender. All defensive systems are offline. We await your instructions." Vex smiled. "Smart choice. My boarding parties will arrive within 30 minutes. Have your population assembled in the central gathering areas. No surprises, no tricks, and perhaps most of you will survive." Closed his eyes, understood. Then, exactly at the deadline, every single warship went dark. Vex's command chair lurched as the power cut out. Emergency lighting flickered on, casting red shadows across the bridge. Alarms blared. Crew members shouted in confusion. "What happened?" Vex roared. Frantically worked his console, which was running on backup battery power. Complete power failure across all primary systems. Weapons, shields, propulsion, everything offline simultaneously. "That is impossible. Our systems are redundant." "I know, Captain, but they are all down." Vex grabbed his communicator. "Engineering report." The response came back confused and frightened. "Captain, we do not know what happened. The reactor cores are undamaged, but they just stopped producing power. We are trying to restart them now." Vex switched channels and called his other 5 ships. Each one reported the same impossible situation. Total power failure. No damage. No explanation. "Restart everything manually," Vex ordered. "I want full power restored in 10 minutes." He looked at the darkened and felt something unfamiliar. Unease. This was not debris. This was not sensor malfunction. Something had done this to them. But there was nothing here. The colony had no such capability. The nearest military forces were weeks away. His sensors had shown nothing. On the colony's surface, watched in shock as the 6 warships in orbit went completely dark. Just lights out all at once. No explosions. No visible damage. Just sudden, complete silence. "What just happened?" Senna whispered. "I do not know." The sensor technician shook his head. "The fleet has lost all power, but I am not reading any weapons fire or system failures. They just stopped." Stared at the display. This made no sense. Then his communicator chimed. Incoming message. Audio only. The voice that came through was speaking accented English, translated automatically by the colony's systems. "Dusthaven Colony, this is Commander Jake of Earth's Ghost Squadron. The threat has been neutralized. You are secure. Repeat, you are secure. Stand by for follow-up." Looked at the communicator as if it had spoken in an alien language, which, technically, it had. "Earth," he said aloud, "That is impossible. There are no Earth ships in this system. Our sensors show nothing." But even as he said it, he remembered that strange message from 3 days ago. Hold on. They had been here, waiting, hidden somehow, but how and where? Aboard the flagship, the emergency lighting suddenly revealed something impossible. At the far end of the bridge corridor, a shadow moved where no shadow should be. Then the shadow into a figure. A human, wearing black armor covered in equipment Vex did not recognize. The figure's helmet was featureless and dark. It carried a weapon that hummed with quiet energy. "How did you get on my ship?" Vex demanded. "The airlocks are sealed." The figure did not answer. It simply raised one hand and made a gesture. Behind Vex, more figures materialized from the walls themselves. They appeared like ghosts, stepping from solid metal as if it were nothing but air. Within seconds, 10 armed humans stood on the bridge. They moved with precision, securing positions, covering angles. Their weapons tracked every crew member. Reached for his sidearm. One of the humans moved faster than Vex thought possible and struck him with the butt of the weapon. Went down hard. "Do not move," the lead human said. The voice came from the helmet's speakers, mechanical and cold. "You are under arrest for piracy, attempted mass murder, and trafficking sentient beings. Surrender now, and you will live to stand trial." Vex stood slowly, keeping his hands visible. He was a pirate, not a fool. He knew when he was beaten, but he still did not understand how. "What are you?" he asked. The human tilted his head slightly. "We are the ones who answer the calls no one else will answer. We are Earth's ghosts." Across the other 5 ships, similar scenes played out. Human soldiers appearing from nowhere, moving through sealed corridors, securing engineering sections and bridges with brutal efficiency. The pirates never had a chance to mount a real defense. By the time they understood what was happening, it was already over. 23 minutes after the power failed, Commander Jake stood on the bridge of the flagship and surveyed the secured prisoners. His team had rounded them up efficiently. No casualties on his side. Minimal injuries among the pirates, considering they had tried to resist. He opened a communication channel to the colony. This time, he added video. Screen flickered to life. He saw a human face for the first time. Commander was younger than had expected. His skin was dark, his eyes were sharp, and when he smiled, it was tight and professional. "Administrator, my team is preparing to transfer the prisoners to secure holding. We will be sending a shuttle to your location within the hour with medical supplies and emergency food rations. Are there any immediate casualties or urgent needs we should address?" Could not find words for a moment. Finally, he managed to speak. "How? We saw no ships. Our sensors detected nothing." Smile widened slightly. "We have been in your system for 2 days, Administrator. We arrived shortly after receiving your distress call. We just did not announce our presence." "But how did you get here so fast? Earth is months away." "We use different roads than most species, faster ones, quieter ones." "And your soldiers walked through the ship's walls. That is impossible." "It would be, using conventional technology. We do not use conventional technology." Sat down heavily. His mind struggled to process what had happened. Earth, the weak newcomers, the species everyone dismissed, had just done the impossible. They had crossed vast distances in days instead of months. They had remained completely hidden from advanced sensors. They had infiltrated 6 warships simultaneously without breaking a single seal. And they had done it all to save a colony that no one else cared about. "Why?" asked quietly. "Why did you come when no one else would?" Looked directly at the camera. "Because someone needed help, and because that is what we do." The communication ended. Sat in silence for a long time. Around him, the colony began to realize they were safe. Voices rose in relief and celebration. People cried and hugged each other. Someone started singing a traditional song of thanksgiving. But just sat and stared at the blank screen. The ghosts had walked through walls to save them. And the galaxy had no idea what that meant yet. The human shuttle landed in Dust Haven's main transport bay 2 hours after the fleet had been secured, stood waiting with Senna and a small group of colony officials. He had no idea what to expect. The shuttle was small and dark, made from materials that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. When the boarding ramp extended, 6 humans emerged wearing the same black armor had seen on the video feed. Commander Jake came down first. He removed his helmet and carried it under one arm. He was tall for a human, though still shorter than most. His face was calm and professional. Behind him came his team, a woman with sharp features and quick eyes, a broad-shouldered man carrying heavier equipment, a younger woman with medical gear, 2 more soldiers bringing supply crates. Approached and extended his hand in the human greeting, had read about this custom. He reached out and grasped the human's hand. His grip was firm but not aggressive. "Administrator, it is good to meet you in person. I am Commander Jake. This is Lieutenant Amy, Sergeant Sanders, and Corporal Lisa Grant. The other 2 are our medical and logistics specialists." Nodded to each of them. "Commander, I still do not fully understand what happened, but I am grateful. We all are. We can discuss the details later. First, do you have wounded who need immediate medical attention?" "No, they never fired on us. Some people are in shock, but there are no physical injuries." "Good, we brought supplies anyway. Medical equipment, food rations, water purification systems. Basic materials you might need over the next few weeks while you wait for regular supply ships." Watched as the humans unloaded the crates efficiently. They worked together with practiced ease, communicating in short phrases and hand signals. Every movement had purpose. The woman had called Amy walked over to where a group of children had gathered to watch. They stared at the humans with wide eyes, curious and nervous. Amy knelt down to their level and smiled. She reached into a pouch on her belt and pulled out something wrapped in colored foil. "Chocolate," she said in carefully pronounced common language. "From Earth. Would you like to try some?" The children looked at their parents. One brave girl, maybe 8 years old, stepped forward. She had soft purple skin and large golden eyes. Amy unwrapped the chocolate and broke off a small piece. The girl took it carefully and placed it in her mouth. Her eyes went wide. "Sweet," she said in amazement. Amy laughed. "Yes, sweet, here, share with your friends." She handed out more pieces to the other children. Soon they were all chattering excitedly, comparing this strange Earth food. The tension in the bay eased slightly. Watched this interaction and felt something shift in his understanding. These were soldiers who had just captured 6 warships through methods he could barely comprehend. But they took time to share candy with frightened children. Noticed watching, he walked over and spoke quietly. "Amy is good with kids. She has 3 younger siblings back home, always carries chocolate for situations like this." "Situations like this happen often." His expression became carefully neutral. "Often enough." Wanted to ask more but changed the subject. "I need to brief you on what happens next. The prisoners are currently secured on their own ships under guard by my teams. We have disabled their weapons systems permanently and locked out their navigation computers. Galactic Council forces are en route now. They should arrive in 12 days. 12 days, but you said they were 14 days away." "They were. Then we sent them a message explaining that we had captured 6 warships and their crews. Suddenly, they found a way to arrive 2 days faster." There was a bitter humor in his voice. Understood it. The Council could have come sooner for the rescue. They chose to come sooner for the captured pirates. "What will happen to the?" asked. "They will stand trial under Council law. Piracy, attempted mass murder, conspiracy to traffic sentient beings. The evidence is clear. They will spend a very long time in prison." "And what about you? Will the Council want to speak with you?" Smiled slightly. "We will not be here when they arrive. The Ghost Squadron does not do official meetings. We go where we are needed, we solve the problem, and we leave before the bureaucrats arrive. That seems difficult. It keeps things simple. Politics complicate everything. Senna approached with a question. Commander, may I ask about your technology? How did you disable all 6 warships simultaneously? And how did your soldiers pass through sealed walls? Glanced at his team. Amy gave a small nod. He turned back to Senna. The power disruption was caused by a targeted electromagnetic pulse delivered through quantum field manipulation. We can create very precise energy fields that interact with ship systems without causing permanent damage. It is a tool for disabling hostile vessels without destroying them. And the walls? Phase displacement technology. Matter is mostly empty space at the quantum level. Our armor systems can briefly shift our atomic structure into a slightly different dimensional frequency. For a few seconds, we can pass through solid objects. It requires enormous energy and very precise calculations. Even a small error would be fatal. Tried to understand this. He failed. It sounded like science fiction, not science fact. And Earth has this technology. Some of us do. It is highly classified. Most of Earth's government does not even know the full capabilities of the Ghost Squadron. Why share it with us then? Looked at him seriously. Because you deserve to know who saved you and how, and because you will not be able to explain it to anyone else in a way they will believe without evidence we choose to provide. He was right, could barely believe it himself, and he had watched it happen. Over the next few hours, his team worked with the colony to ensure everything was stable. They checked the power systems, the communication arrays were functional, and confirmed that the colony had enough supplies to last until regular shipments resumed. Notice that the humans worked with quiet efficiency. They did not boast or seek attention. They simply did their jobs. At one point, found Amy in the colony's medical bay, helping their doctors organize the supplied equipment. She was explaining the use of a portable diagnostic scanner to a nurse. "Excuse me," Lieutenant said. "May I ask you a question?" Amy looked up. "Of course, Administrator." "Why did Earth create the Ghost Squadron? What is your purpose?" Amy set down the scanner and thought for a moment before answering. About 7 years ago, Earth was monitoring standard distress frequencies, just listening, learning about galactic affairs. We heard a lot of calls for help. Scientific expeditions trapped on failing stations, colonies under attack, refugee ships stranded without fuel, and we heard what happened to those calls. Most of them were ignored. Not because help was impossible, but because it was not convenient or profitable or politically useful. She paused and looked directly at. The people who started the Ghost Squadron were veterans, military, rescue services, disaster response. They had spent their whole lives being trained to answer calls for help, and they were listening to thousands of those calls being ignored. It made them angry. So they went to Earth's government and said, "If no one else will answer, we will." And your government agreed. Eventually, it took 3 years of development and testing. We had to create technology that would let us reach distant systems quickly and operate without support infrastructure. We had to train teams who could handle any situation. And we had to do it all in secret, because if the Council knew Earth was developing advanced military technology, they would have tried to stop us. So you hide. We work in the shadows. We do not seek glory or recognition. We just go where we are needed. That must be lonely, said quietly. Amy smiled. We have each other, and we have moments like this when we know we made a difference. That is enough. Thought about this as he walked back to his office. Earth had built a force specifically designed to do what the Council and the great empires would not. They had invested years of effort and enormous resources into the ability to save strangers. It was such a human thing to do, realized. He had read some Earth history since receiving that first message. Humans had a saying, "Leave no one behind." It came from their military tradition, but it seemed to extend to their entire culture. They could not stand the idea of someone calling for help and hearing only silence in response. That evening, gathered his team in the transport bay to prepare for departure, came to see them off. Senna was with him, and the sensor technician, and several dozen colonists who wanted to say thank you. Shook's hand again. The council will arrive in 12 days. They will ask questions. Tell them the truth. 6 warships attacked your colony. An unknown military force disabled the ships and secured the pirates. The prisoners are waiting for arrest. That is all you know. You want us to lie about who helped us. We want you to be vague. If the council presses you about Earth involvement, you can confirm it, but do not volunteer the information. Let them wonder. Understood. The mystery would be part of the message. Earth could appear anywhere, anytime, unseen and unstoppable. What will you do now? Asked. Glanced at his team. There are always more calls. We will go where we are needed. The humans boarded their shuttle. The engines powered up with a low hum that felt in his chest. The vessel rose smoothly and exited the bay. And the others went outside to watch. The sky was dark now, stars visible through the thin atmosphere. The human shuttle climbed quickly, then seemed to simply vanish. One moment it was there, the next it was gone. No flash, no trail, just gone. They really are ghosts, Senna said softly. Nodded. He looked up at the stars and thought about how the galaxy was about to change. Earth had announced itself not with diplomacy or trade agreements, but with action. They had shown that they could go anywhere and do anything, and they would use that power to help people who had no one else. The council would not like it. The empires would not like it. But the colonies on the frontier, the settlers in dangerous space, the workers in forgotten corners of the galaxy, they would remember what happened here. Earth had come when no one else would, and they had walked through walls to keep their promise. 3 days later, the 3 cargo shuttles that had evacuated the children returned to Dust Haven, stood in the transport bay as families reunited. He watched Senna hold her daughter and cry with relief. He saw parents embrace children they had thought they might never see again. One of the children, the brave girl who had tried Amy's chocolate, ran up too. Administrator, where are the humans? I wanted to say thank you. Knelt down to her level. They left, little one. They had to help other people. Will they come back? Thought about this. I do not know, but I think if we ever need them again, they will be there. The girl nodded seriously. Then she reached into her pocket and pulled out the chocolate wrapper Amy had given her. She had kept it carefully folded. I am going to remember them. We all will, said. He stood and looked around at the colony, at the families reunited, at the people who had been certain they would die but now had another chance at life, at the community that had been saved by strangers from Earth. The galaxy did not know it yet, but everything had changed. The ghosts were watching, the ghosts were listening, and when someone called for help, the ghosts would walk through walls to answer. Returned to his office and composed a message. He sent it on the same Earth frequency that had replied 3 days earlier. He kept it simple. This is Administrator of Dust Haven Colony. Message received. Thank you. If you ever need anything from us, you need only ask. We will not forget. He did not know if anyone would read it. He did not know if Earth cared about the gratitude of one small colony, but he had to say it anyway. In Earth's orbital command center, thousands of light years away, a communications officer noted the message and forwarded it to Commander's file. Would see it later, along with dozens of other messages from people his teams had helped. He would read it, he would smile, and then he would look at the next distress call waiting in the queue. Because there was always someone who needed help, and the ghosts would always answer. The Galactic Council chamber was built to impress. High ceilings stretched above rows of seats arranged in a vast circle. Representatives from hundreds of species gathered here to debate policy and make decisions that affected trillions of lives. The architecture was designed to make everyone feel small and remind them that they were part of something greater. Today, the chamber felt different. Today, everyone was arguing about Earth. Ambassador Parker stood at the human delegation's podium and watched the chaos with calm patience. She was a slim woman in her 50s with hair pulled back in a simple style. She wore a plain dark suit with Earth's flag pin on the lapel. She did not look impressive compared to the elaborate robes and ceremonial armor worn by other ambassadors. That was intentional. Counselor Thane of the Empire was speaking, his voice amplified across the chamber. He was large and imposing, with scaled skin and elaborate crests that indicated his high rank. His words were angry. The human government must provide full disclosure of their military capabilities immediately. This secret fleet, these phantom soldiers, they represent a clear violation of the understanding between Earth and the Council. We cannot have unknown military forces operating in Council space without oversight. Other voices rose in agreement. A representative from the consortium demanded technical specifications of Earth stealth technology. A delegate from the mining guild wanted to know how many ships Earth possessed. A military advisor from the Axis Alliance questioned how long Earth had been conducting covert operations. High Counselor, who presided over the assembly, raised one hand for silence. Was old even by his species' long-lived standards. His skin was pale blue and seemed almost translucent. When he spoke, his voice carried natural authority. Ambassador Parker, the Council has received multiple reports over the past 10 days. The incident at Dust Haven Colony. Similar operations at 3 other locations. In each case, human military forces appeared without detection, resolved dangerous situations, and departed without formal contact with Council authorities. The Council requires clarification. Stepped forward to the speaking platform. Her voice was clear and steady. High Counselor, members of the Council, Earth is happy to provide clarification. We have indeed developed specialized rapid response teams for emergency situations. We call them Ghost Squadrons. They are trained to handle hostage situations, pirate attacks, and similar crises in remote locations. They have been operational for approximately 8 months. 8 months, Counselor Thane repeated with outrage. You have been conducting military operations in Council space for 8 months without informing this body. We have been responding to distress calls that went unanswered by Council forces, corrected gently. In each case, civilians were in immediate danger. In each case, the Council or local authorities were unable or unwilling to provide timely assistance. We did what was necessary to preserve innocent lives. That is not your decision to make, Thane snapped. The Council has protocols for emergency response. You cannot simply ignore established procedures because you believe them to be inadequate. Looked at him directly. Counselor Thane, 9 days ago your own office received a distress call from Dust Haven Colony. Your response, according to their records, was that military intervention was not cost-effective. You suggested they negotiate with pirates known for murdering civilians. What would you have had Earth do? Wait for those 40,000 people to be killed or enslaved while proper procedures were followed. The chamber erupted again. Some voices supported Thane, arguing that proper authority must be maintained. Others questioned why the Council had failed to respond to legitimate emergencies. The debate spiraled in multiple directions at once. Called for order again. When the noise finally subsided, he spoke carefully. Ambassador Parker, I think everyone here understands the humanitarian motivation behind your actions. However, the Council has legitimate security concerns. If Earth possesses technology that can penetrate our most advanced detection systems and bypass standard security measures, we need to understand the scope of this capability. For what purpose, High Counselor? To assess potential threats and ensure galactic stability. Paused, choosing her words precisely. With respect, High Counselor, Earth's assessment is that requiring us to disclose our defensive capabilities would itself be a threat to galactic stability. We have no aggressive intentions toward any council member. We have taken no hostile actions against legitimate authorities. We have only intervened when civilians were in danger and no other help was available. Forcing us to reveal our capabilities would only benefit those who might wish to counter them, such as the pirates and criminals we have been stopping. You cannot operate a secret military force without oversight, Thane insisted. We are not asking for your permission, said calmly. Earth is a sovereign world. We will continue to develop whatever defensive technologies we deem necessary for our security and for the protection of innocent lives throughout the galaxy. The Council may disapprove, but that is your choice to make, just as this is our choice to make. The chamber fell silent. What it just said was not technically a violation of any treaty or law, because Earth had carefully avoided signing any agreements that would limit their military development. But it was a blunt assertion of independence that surprised many representatives. Councillor Thane's crest flushed darker with anger. You realize this approach will have consequences: economic sanctions, travel restrictions, diplomatic isolation. The Council has many tools at its disposal. Smiled slightly. It was not a warm smile. Counselor, you are welcome to try those measures, but I would remind you that yesterday, a Ghost Squadron team rescued a scientific expedition trapped on a collapsing planet. The scientists were from 6 different species, including 3 researchers. They had been calling for help for 4 days. No one came except Earth. If you choose to sanction us, you will need to explain to your own people why you punished the ones who saved their scientists while you did nothing. She let that sink in for a moment before continuing. Our position is simple. We will continue to respond to distress calls. We will continue to operate our ghost squadrons. We will not disclose technical specifications that might compromise our operational security, and we will not apologize for saving lives. If the Council finds this unacceptable, then we invite you to do what we do. When someone calls for help, answer. The silence that followed was heavy, had essentially thrown the Council's failures back in their faces. She had made it clear that Earth was not asking for permission or approval. They were acting, and the Council could either accept it or prove they could do better. Studied for a long moment. Finally, he spoke. This matter requires further deliberation. The Council will take your position under advisement. However, I must warn you, Ambassador, that unilateral action outside established frameworks sets a dangerous precedent. With respect, High Counselor, ignoring distress calls also sets a precedent. We have simply chosen which precedent we are comfortable living with. The session ended shortly after. Returned to Earth's diplomatic office in the Council complex. Her assistant, a young man named Peter Hayes, was waiting with reports. The response channels are lighting up, Peter said. We are getting messages from all over the galaxy. Some supporting us, some condemning us, most just confused. What is the breakdown? Major powers are mostly negative or cautious. They see us as a threat to established order. Smaller colonies and frontier settlements are overwhelmingly positive. They are calling us heroes. Independent traders and explorers are mixed but leaning supportive. They like the idea of someone watching out for them. Nodded, this was expected, and the media. Galactic news services are running constant coverage. The story about Dust Haven has spread everywhere. Some outlets are calling it the miracle rescue. Others are calling it a dangerous power grab. Everyone wants to know more about the ghost squadrons. Let them wonder. Mystery serves our purpose better than revelation. Peter hesitated. Ambassador, there is something else. We are receiving distress calls directly, dozens of them. Colonies, ships, stations, all sending emergency messages specifically to Earth frequencies. They want Ghost Squadron help. Sat down at her desk. How many can we handle? Commander says his teams are already at operational capacity. He has 6 active ghost squadrons with about 40 personnel each. They can handle maybe 10 to 12 operations simultaneously, depending on complexity. We have over 50 active distress situations right now. Closed her eyes briefly. This was the problem with success. Once people knew help was available, everyone would ask for it. Tell Commander to prioritize based on immediate threat to life. Children in danger first, then civilians under direct attack, then other situations. We save who we can. What about the rest? We forward those calls to Council Emergency Response with copies to local authorities. We document everything, and we keep building more ghost squadrons as fast as we can train them. Over the following weeks, the pattern continued. Ghost squadrons operated across multiple sectors, responding to emergencies that others ignored. They stopped pirate attacks. They rescued stranded crews. They prevented massacres and slave raids. Each operation was quick, professional, and seemingly impossible. The galaxy began to change in response. Criminal activity in frontier regions dropped significantly. Pirates started avoiding areas where ghost squadrons had been reported. Slavers moved their operations to areas closer to major powers, where they thought Earth would not dare to operate. They were wrong. A ghost squadron team infiltrated a slave auction on a station in Empire space, freed 200 prisoners, and disappeared before local authorities arrived. The message was clear. Earth would go anywhere to answer a call for help, regardless of whose territory it was. This caused diplomatic problems. The Empire formally protested the unauthorized military operation in their space, responded by releasing recordings of the distress calls the freed prisoners had sent to authorities, along with the responses stating that intervention was not a priority. Public opinion in territory began to shift. Citizens started asking why Earth was protecting civilians better than their own government. Similar situations played out across the Council. Each time a ghost squadron operated in someone's territory, Earth produced evidence that the local authorities had failed to act on legitimate emergencies. The message was consistent. We are doing what you should be doing. If you do not like it, do your job better. Some governments responded by improving their emergency response systems. Others doubled down on their criticism of Earth. But all of them started paying more attention to distress calls because they knew if they did not, Earth would, and that would make them look incompetent. A month after the Dust Haven incident, received a private communication from. He asked to meet with her unofficially, away from the council chamber. They met in a quiet garden within the council complex. Walked slowly among the alien plants. His age showed in his careful movements. When he spoke, his voice was tired. You have created a very complicated situation, Ambassador. I apologize if Earth's commitment to saving lives is inconvenient, High Counselor. Do not be flippant. You know what I mean. The Council is designed to maintain order through consensus and cooperation. Your unilateral actions undermine that structure. The Council's structure was letting people die, High Counselor. Forgive me if we prioritized lives over bureaucratic convenience. Stopped and looked at her. I am not your enemy, Ambassador. I know the Council has failures. I have spent centuries trying to reform it from within, but change takes time in an organization this large. How much time, High Counselor? How many people should die while we wait for reforms that might never come? So you appoint yourselves as galactic saviors. You decide who lives and dies based on your own judgment. No, said firmly. We respond to distress calls. Anyone can call us. We do not choose who deserves saving. We simply answer when someone asks for help. Was quiet for a moment. Your ghost squadrons are making the Council look ineffective. Then perhaps the Council should be more effective. It is not that simple. It is exactly that simple, High Counselor. When someone is dying, you help them. You do not debate cost-benefit analysis. You do not check if it is politically convenient. You help them. That is what civilized beings do. Side, you speak like an idealist. I speak like someone who is tired of watching ideals die because they are inconvenient. They walked in silence for a while, finally spoke again. What is your end goal, Ambassador? What does Earth want from all of this? Considered her answer carefully. We want a galaxy where distress calls are answered, where children do not have to watch pirates kill their parents because help was too expensive to send, where doing the right thing matters more than political calculations. If the Council can provide that, we will happily step back. Until then, we will keep answering the calls. And if we try to stop you, you cannot stop ghosts, High Counselor. You did not know we were there yesterday. You will not know where we are tomorrow, but people in danger will know they can call us. That is enough. Looked at her for a long moment, then he nodded slowly. Earth has always been strange to us. You come from a harsh world. You fight among yourselves constantly. Your history is full of violence and conflict. But you also have this stubborn insistence on helping strangers, even at great cost to yourselves. I do not understand it. We call it humanity, said quietly. It is what we are. Turned to leave, then paused. Off the record, Ambassador, there are many on the Council who privately support what you are doing, even if they cannot say so publicly. The bureaucracy frustrates them as much as it frustrates you. Your ghost squadrons are forcing changes that we could never accomplish through normal channels. And off the record, High Counselor, keep doing what you are doing. Just try not to cause too many diplomatic incidents. He walked away, leaving alone in the garden. She looked up at the stars visible through the dome overhead. Somewhere out there, ghost squadron teams were answering calls, walking through walls, keeping promises. The galaxy was learning a new lesson. When you called for help, someone would answer. They might come from Earth. They might appear like ghosts, but they would come. That was the promise. And Earth kept its promises. 6 months after Dust Haven, Administrator stood in his office and looked at a very different view than the one he had seen half a year ago. The dusty landscape was the same, but now a new structure rose near the colony's edge. A communications relay station, built with Earth's technical assistance and financial support. It was painted with both the colony's colors and Earth's flag. The relay ensured that any distress call from Dust Haven or nearby systems would reach Earth's Ghost Squadron command within seconds. It also served as a symbol. This colony was under Earth's protection. Senna entered his office carrying a data pad. The supply ship has arrived. They brought the materials you requested for the memorial. Nodded. Good. Is the construction crew ready? They start tomorrow. The memorial will be completed within a week. They had planned this for months. A permanent monument to remember the day Earth's ghosts walked through walls to save them. Wanted it to be perfect. His communicator chimed. Incoming message from off-world. Opened it and smiled. Senna informed the colony leadership. We have visitors arriving this afternoon. Who? Commander and his team. They are passing through the sector and asked if they could stop by. Senna's eyes widened. The ghosts are coming back. It appears so. The news spread through the colony quickly. By the time the human shuttle landed that afternoon, hundreds of colonists had gathered at the transport bay. Children held signs they had painted. Adults brought food and gifts. Everyone wanted to see the humans again. Commander Jake emerged from the shuttle with Amy, Sanders, and Lisa Grant. They looked slightly surprised at the reception. Approached and shook hand warmly. Commander, welcome back to Dust Haven. We are honored by your visit. We were nearby and wanted to check on how you were doing. I hope this is not a bad time. Never. Come. We have prepared a small gathering for you. They led the Ghost Squadron team to the colony's central hall, which had been decorated with banners and streamers. Tables were loaded with food from multiple worlds. Colonists crowded around, wanting to meet the humans who had saved them. Young, the girl who had been given chocolate 6 months ago, pushed through the crowd and ran to Amy. She held out something wrapped in paper. "I made this for you." Amy knelt down and accepted the gift. She unwrapped it carefully. Inside was a drawing showing humans in black armor standing with children. Stars filled the background. At the top, written in careful letters, were the words "Thank you for coming." Amy looked at the drawing for a long moment. When she spoke, her voice was thick with emotion. "This is beautiful, thank you. I will keep it forever." "Really? Really? I will put it in my quarters on our ship. That way I can see it every day and remember why we do what we do." Beamed and hugged Amy tightly. Over the next few hours, the Ghost Squadron team mingled with the colonists. They shared stories and answered questions about Earth, taught some of the young men a human fighting technique. Lisa showed the medical staff how to use the diagnostic equipment Earth had provided. Spent time with and the colony leadership, discussing security improvements and communication protocols. At one point, pulled aside. "Commander, I must ask you something that has been troubling me." "Of course." "How many distress calls do you receive?" His expression became guarded. "Many." "How many can you answer?" Was quiet for a moment, then he answered honestly. "Maybe 1 in 5. We have expanded the Ghost Squadron program. We now have 12 active teams. We are training more as fast as we can. But there are more calls every day, more than we can possibly handle." Felt a chill. "So for every dust haven you save, there are 4 others you cannot reach." "Yes, we prioritize based on immediate danger and likelihood of casualties. Children in danger always get first priority. But yes, we have to make impossible choices every day about who we can help and who we cannot." "That must be difficult." "It is the hardest part of the job, knowing that while we are saving one colony, another one is falling. But we cannot be everywhere. We can only do what we can do and hope it is enough." Placed a hand on shoulder. "You saved us. That is enough for 40,000 people. Do not diminish what you accomplish by focusing on what you cannot do." Smiled slightly. "Amy tells me the same thing, so does my commander, but it is hard not to think about the calls we had to decline." "Then think about this instead. Because you saved us, we are alive to help others. Our colony has become a relay station for distress calls in this sector. We forward them to your command immediately. We have also begun training our own emergency response teams, modeled on what you showed us. We cannot do what you do, but we can help coordinate and provide first aid until you arrive. You saved us, and now we help save others. That is how change spreads." Looked at with new understanding. I had not thought of it that way. "You started something, Commander. You showed the galaxy that someone will answer. Now others are learning to answer too. That is your real legacy." Later that evening, showed the Ghost Squadron team the site where the memorial would be built. It was on a hill overlooking the colony, a place where the stars were visible at night. "We want to remember what you did," explained. "Not just for us, but for everyone who comes after, so they know that when no one else would come, Earth came." Amy wiped her eyes, looked away, his jaw tight. Lisa put her hand over her heart, stood very still, staring at the empty site where the memorial would rise. "We do not do this for recognition," said quietly. "I know, but you will have it anyway, because it matters. Because people need to remember that doing the right thing is possible, even when it seems impossible." The next morning, the Ghost Squadron team prepared to depart. Colonists lined up to say goodbye. Many brought gifts, small tokens of appreciation, tried to refuse them but insisted. "Let them give, Commander. They need to express their gratitude. It helps them process what happened." Accepted the gifts with grace. As they boarded the shuttle, ran up one last time. She handed Amy another drawing, this one showing Earth as a bright star. "Come back and visit us again," said. "We will if we can," Amy promised. "And if you ever need help, you call us. We will always answer." The shuttle lifted off and disappeared into the sky. The colonists waved until it was gone. Across the galaxy, Earth's reputation continued to transform. The phrase "Call Earth" became common shorthand among frontier settlers. When danger approached, when systems failed, when hope ran out, people would say those two words, "Call Earth." Not everyone could actually reach Earth's ghost squadrons. The distress call volume had become overwhelming, but the idea itself had power. The knowledge that someone might answer, that help might come, gave people courage to hold on just a little longer. Other species began to emulate the model. The consortium established their own rapid response teams. The Empire quietly expanded their emergency services. Even the Galactic Council created a new fast deployment crisis unit. They were not as effective as Earth's ghost squadrons, but they were trying. Pirates and raiders found their work much harder. Systems that had once been easy targets now had protectors. The mere possibility that a ghost squadron might appear made criminals think twice. Crime in frontier sectors dropped by 40% in the first year after Dust Haven. In Earth's orbital command center, Commander watched the growing network of protection spread across the galaxy. His teams were still stretched thin. They still had to make impossible choices. But the burden was being shared now. Others were stepping up. Amy entered his office carrying coffee. She had been promoted to second in command of the entire Ghost Squadron program. She set the cup on his desk and looked at the star map he was studying. 3 new calls in the last hour, she said. 1 pirate attack, 1 medical emergency, 1 request for evacuation from a contested system. Can we handle them? Yes. Team 7 is nearest to the pirate situation. Team 3 can reach the medical emergency within 6 hours. Team 11 is already in the contested system on another operation. They can handle the evacuation. Nodded and approved the deployments. How are the new recruits doing? Good. We will have 4 more teams operational within 3 months. The training program is working well. We have more volunteers than we can accept. That is a good problem to have. Amy sat down across from him. Jake, do you ever think about what we started? 6 months ago, we were just one team trying to make a difference. Now we have changed how the entire galaxy thinks about emergency response. It was not just us. It was everyone who answered a call when they did not have to. Everyone who chose to help instead of walking away. Still, we walked through walls, literally and figuratively. We showed people that impossible things are possible. Smiled, we showed them that humanity means something, that we keep our promises. His communicator chimed. Another distress call, this one from a research station in an unstable star system. The station was losing structural integrity. They had maybe 12 hours before catastrophic failure. 200 scientists and support staff trapped with no way out. The nearest Council rescue ship was 3 days away. Read the call and immediately began calculating response options. Team 9 could reach them in 8 hours if they pushed their engines. That would be cutting it close, but it was possible. He opened the communication channel. Research Station Delta 7, this is Commander of Earth's Ghost Squadron. Message received. We are en route. Hold on. He could hear the relief in the response. Thank you so much. We thought no one would come. Smiled, someone always comes. That is the promise. He closed the channel and dispatched Team 9. Then he looked at Amy. You know what the best part is? What? They thought no one would come, but they sent the call anyway. They had hope. That is what we really gave them. Not just rescue, but hope that rescue is possible. Amy nodded. And as long as people have hope, they will keep trying, they will keep fighting, they will keep calling for help. And we will keep answering. Far away, on a research station spinning near an unstable star, 200 people watched their sensors and waited. They did not know much about Earth or its ghost squadron. They only knew that someone had answered their call. They held on and hoped and prepared for rescue, because Earth had said they would come, and Earth kept its promises. The ghost ships moved through the void, invisible and swift. They would arrive with hours to spare. The rescue would be dangerous and difficult, but they would succeed because failure was not acceptable, not when people were counting on them. In the years that followed, the story of Dust Haven became legend. It was told in 1,000 languages on 1,000,000 worlds. The details changed with each telling, but the core remained the same. A colony called for help. No one answered except Earth, and Earth's ghosts walked through walls to keep their promise. Children grew up hearing that story. Some of them joined their own world's emergency services because of it. Some became explorers or colonists, knowing that if they got into trouble, someone might answer their call. Some simply lived their lives differently, treating strangers with more kindness, because they had learned that helping others mattered. The memorial at Dust Haven was completed and became a pilgrimage site. People from across the galaxy came to see the black stone monument with its simple inscription. They stood at the base and looked up at the names carved there. Sanders, Grant, and below those names, one line that captured everything. They thought no one would come. They were wrong. And in Earth's command center, the calls kept coming. Distress signals from colonies, ships, stations, worlds. Each one represented people in danger. Each one represented a choice. Commander sat at his console and read the messages. He calculated distances and response times. He weighed risks and possibilities. He made the hard decisions about who could be saved and who could not. And then he sent his teams into the dark. They flew through dimensions normal space did not touch. They moved like ghosts through hostile territory. They appeared when they were needed and disappeared when their work was done. They kept the promise, always. Because that was what humanity meant. That was what it meant to walk through walls. Not just physical barriers, but the walls of indifference, the walls of not our problem, the walls of convenient excuses. They walked through all of it, and on the other side they found people who needed help, and they helped them. That was enough. That was everything. When you called, someone would answer. You just had to hold on long enough for Earth's ghosts to walk through your walls. And they were always listening, always watching, always ready. The promise was simple, but keeping it changed everything.